All right, let's get this live, and then I'll get I'll start sharing this a little bit here. All righty, as everyone starts to stream in. All right, so let's just hit that. There you go. There's a tweet. We got some people coming in here. We'll get the comments going. Let's see who's here, who's not. Welcome everybody in. We'll start in a minute. Just kind of give everyone a chance to get settled and ready. Did you see the tweet combo? I don't know. Oh, look, is that a members only jacket you're wearing? Look at you,
man.
Holy!
You like that, huh?
Wow. I feel underdressed right now.
Oh man,
how you feeling, Combo?
I'm feeling great, man. You know, everything's good. Recording podcasts, hanging out with Coach Nick on the weekly basis.
Hey,
it's good times, man. You know
what's not to like? I actually have maybe a kind of a big announcement. Maybe I'll save it for the live show because I haven't really said anything yet. But
and we get to talk about your EuroLeague video. I love that video. I got some stuff to add too. I love it.
Oh, great. You know what? I probably, if I wasn't in such a hurry to get it done, I would have had you maybe come in and lay down a track with you in there. But that's great. Well, we'll do that. We got to talk about KD. Did you get a chance to peek at KD's debut? I went through. I'm like through the third quarter now, watching every minute, and I'm just going to really pull it apart for tomorrow for a video. But what's up, Spire, Dala 66, Dre, and Nick F? What's going on? Hello, everybody out there. Don't forget, if you want your questions asked, the best way to do it is super chat on the YouTube side, and we'll put your question up on the screen to give you a lot of love, and it really helps us keep this show going. So please do that if you can. But let's start the show, shall we?
Yeah.
Sure. I guess I'll do my little Hey Sports fans. There we go. Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you on a beautiful Thursday midday with Combo, Andrew Combo Salva, as always. Combo, great to see you and your members only jacket. Thank you for being here. What's happening, man?
All is well, man. Watch your video today. It was awesome. Can't wait to talk about it. The NBA is fun. Kevin Durant is playing for his seventh team. No shade to him. He's playing where he wants to play. You know, mobility is a real thing. It was seamless. That'd be the one word I'd describe that game, right? And implementing a star like that, he's probably one of the easiest superstars to play with. So all is well, Coach Nick. All is well.
All right. Well, let's get into it, because if you haven't watched the video, and some of you out there probably haven't, you better do that, that we dropped this morning. But basically, not too long ago, we had an interesting insight that we don't normally get from guys who really know what they're talking about in terms of Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, all talking about what it's like playing in Europe and why it's harder to score in Europe. And so I said, okay, let's look at this. Let's look at the top scorers in EuroLeague, which is a pretty good microcosm of Europe in general, and see, is it harder to score in that game than it would be in the NBA? Because obviously the people would probably raise their eyebrows and think that's kind of strange. And so I broke it down, and you know what? It's interesting. The guy that leads the league in scoring and is an MVP candidate is a role player, basically. Sasha Venkanov is he plays within the offense. He doesn't do any pick and rolls. He doesn't do any ISOs. He just runs the offense, and they skip it to him, and he can shoot the crap out of the ball. Holy moly. Off the dribble, off the dribble in the sense that he'll do the shot fake and then get in the off dribble bag a little bit and then shoot it, or just catch and shoot. Doesn't matter how close the defender is, whatever. Lefty. So he can really fill it up on that, but it's really kind of, from a coach's perspective, almost exciting to see that you can have that much success and lead the league in scoring per game, playing that way. So what are your thoughts? Was I off on anything?
No, first of all, it was a great video. The 40-minute thing, I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like, if you put an NBA player in EuroLeague, they're not going to average as much, and the big reason is because the games are just shorter. And you showed that beautifully on the video. But I think even if the minutes were the same, a lot of players wouldn't average this. Like, if Giannis played in EuroLeague, right, and they changed it to 48 minutes a game, do you think he would average more in EuroLeague?
Well, that's, by the way, that's a great question. Would he average more if the same? Because, by the way, I broke it down. I was almost going to try and grab a screenshot and share it. I broke down the per 36 because then you can normalize.
Right. Yeah.
And if you see the top scores in the NBA, it's like ridiculously way beyond. It's like as much.
So if we wouldn't change the minutes, there's no way, in my opinion, he would average more in EuroLeague. There's no chance.
No. I couldn't find pace stats, and maybe I didn't look hard enough for that, but maybe it's there. You know what? Somebody, Real GM, has it. You know what? They might have it. I remember now in my brain, I can see that they have advanced stats. They might have pace. I'm kind of curious if I can find any more while I'm talking, because obviously pace is another issue, right? Where it's so fast right now in the NBA that, you know, you can argue that the per game totals are inflated a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, I never thought it was a hot take when Luka and other guys said it was easier to score in the NBA. Another thing is that I don't know if you talked about this in your video, is that if you get an advantage on offense, they're going to foul you. Like, they teach you there to use all of your fouls, especially if the player's in a non-shooting situation. So if you're dribbling in transition and there's a chance that you'll get numbers and an advantage, they'll foul you right away. They don't do that in America. Also, you're going
to outlaw it.
Yeah, well, yeah, but in general, like in college and in high school and all over the United States, they never taught you just to foul what would seem like to be for no reason. But there is a reason, because they don't want you to get an advantage. Another thing is, I noticed when I was playing abroad, is that I had a lot of travels called when I first played, because they just call it differently. And you'll see a lot of overseas players when they're practicing, when they get home, you'll notice they'll put the ball down first, because if you rip through in the half court or in transition, they're going to call that right away. So that's
a whole lot. Timeout. So the FIBA a couple of years ago officially added the gather step to their rules for that reason. But by the way, I like it that way. And I remember we would train guys who were going over there. We'd show them that you had to spike the ball down if you're on the run catching the ball. You couldn't catch it, rip through, and dribble. They call travel. Right, totally. But recently, they don't do it as much, because they put that rule in to allow that so there's a commonality between NBA and FIBA. However, but like I said, I think that we should go back to that. I love the fact that you would spike it down and go and avoid that, even that possibility of a travel as it is. But yes, now let me just say this, because I posted this on Twitter and it got around a little bit, but Vezenkov, you know, his footwork isn't great. And he gets away with a lot of shifty footwork where he's shifting his feet before he dribbles, and they don't call any of it. And not that they should, but it would be nice if they did. But I think my point was that, you know, the EuroLeague isn't immune to stars, for instance, getting away with things, just like the NBA is. And I feel like there's pushback a lot of times with that, saying, oh, you can't get away with that in the EuroLeague. And it's not true.
So a real thing is they'll call things on the American players that they won't call on the native players. That's a huge thing, right?
Oh, really?
Like if you're a national player that grew up in the country, they look at some of those guys like that's their children, right? Like they watch them play. They watch them go through the ranks from 12 under national team, 19U national team to the men's national team. So when they just see an American that first got there, they don't know this guy, they're going to probably call some things that they wouldn't call on the native players. That's a real thing for sure.
That's amazing. Well, I got a stat for you because I called it up. I looked at the pace. I found pace. Now, if we're assuming that a real GM has pace the same way as they do on the NBA site, which is possessions per 100 or whatever. Okay, the number one pace team in the EuroLeague is 72.6. Can you put that in your head? That's the fastest pace we see in the EuroLeague. 72.6. Do you want to guess what the fastest pace in the NBA is?
No, tell me.
102.81. Now, let's go to the slowest pace in the NBA. Cleveland Cavaliers, 96. So the slowest paced team in the NBA is so far and away faster than the fastest paced team in the EuroLeague. It isn't even funny. And that has to also go a long way to explaining why the production is lower, because there's less possessions. So even that explains to me the per 36 when you normalize more than anything else, because it's insane how little. They just have less opportunities. They have less possessions to try and score.
Yeah, and the way they play defense, it's harder to get in a rhythm and flow of offense because everything's choppy. Like, think about every veteran trick you could think of on the defensive end, and they're doing them all, and they're allowing more physicality. The refs are, that is.
Yeah, and that's okay because they're starting to let that happen in the NBA too, right? The last couple of years, we've seen guys going to the basket. There's a little contact. They're not calling it, which is awesome. I think everyone agrees that, there's a balance there, but I think it's better what they're doing there. But you're right. There definitely seems to be, Mike James, man, gets a lot of tough shots as an American over there, which is probably kind of talking about you are. And I looked at a couple of those guys like Dwayne Bacon and Mike James who play like Americans. A lot of ball handling, a lot of usage rate. Whereas a lot of the other guys don't in EuroLeague. So you could argue that it's more of a team sport. The coaches are more in control. Some of the problems I've had though with the tough shots, and the reason why it was tough was because of the offense itself. The spacing was bad. It was almost too much motion, too much movement. It was getting in the way of people. So like Mike James is having to deal with his own players in his way as much as he was a defense, and so that's going to make it harder to score. And the fact that he can do it there is even that more impressive.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I remember when I first went over, it's like the offense was just weird to me, but this sounds a little like philosophical weird, but their reality is just different from our reality. The way they grew up coaching, the way they grew up playing is just totally different. The way they look at basketball is totally different. It definitely is more a team perspective over there and more of a player perspective over here. It's all about the team. Like if you get a crazy dunk over there and your team is losing by 20, nobody cares, right? But if it's a simple dunk and it puts your team up 1, the crowd goes bananas. It's all about the win and the loss. It's all about the team. It's not about the individual player.
Yeah, I gotta get over there, man. I mean, the Final Four is coming up, and it's in Estonia. No, where is it? I forgot where it was. Yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
And I just don't think I'm able to get over there, but I really do need to get over there and just check it all in live and look at some practices and really just absorb it. Because listen, the NBA does run offense too. There's a lot of similarities. You see a lot of similar stuff, and the NBA probably taking some of the stuff we see in Europe. But at some point, sometimes it's like it is too frenetic and it's like wasted action because the guy with the ball never is going to see what's happening way over there while you're having all 5 guys scurrying around like that. I found it a little bit frustrating. And then also defensively, I've never liked how they play defense in the EuroLeague. I feel like rotations are weird. They're suboptimal. They allow stuff that like on purpose. It doesn't make any sense to me. They help one pass away and they don't seem to get burned a lot by it, which is really strange because it's like, the guy comes over to the ball and all he has to do is just pass it. And the guy he's helping off of is an elite shooter. And it wasn't happening. I pointed out in the video, like Nate Walters is a good shooter and his man just flies in there to gum up the works on a pin down for that was, I think, Mike James's team. And then James doesn't even pass it to him and they don't get the wide open 3. So that's another thing. I like to see the 3-point frequency. I suspect. Do you feel like it was more wide open there where there's a lot of threes being taken in EuroLeague or in Europe?
Yeah, I also felt like this is probably not the case anymore, that the worst shooters over there were a lot better than the worst shooters over here. Like the baseline of shooting was a lot higher, in my opinion. So, yeah. But that has changed now, I think, because I think like Steph Curry changed everything and now everybody wants to shoot really well.
Yeah, right.
But,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, it's just a totally different sport. It really is. And at the highest levels, it's more about the win and the loss and less about entertainment. And I feel like here, it's not more about entertainment, but the entertainment part of it is a bigger deal, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I could do a quick 3-point frequency math here because we can see the totals right now. So they've taken, let's see, the most, Baskonia has taken the most threes total. Let's just assume that they're the most prolific. So 741 divided by total field goals, 16-18. Is 46%. So that's actually a lot. So that's in line with like what you'd see at the very top. I think the very top in the NBA is 47, 48-ish. So they're taking like, they are taking the threes. That's good. And they were always taking the threes probably before we were. So that's good. I would like to, it would be fun to probably end up having a tournament where we see the NBA teams play against the EuroLeague teams for real.
Which rules would you use though?
Right. Well, maybe depending on where they are, maybe we go there, we play by their rules. Because the one thing that was hard to find was, you could tap the ball off the rim after it's up there. It doesn't happen that much, right? But it is something you can add to the list of like why it's harder to score. Because if you were to get a role in the NBA, they're knocking that thing off if they get a chance for a lot of the time. It just doesn't happen a lot, but like they will. Did it ever happen to you? Did you ever get your shots knocked off the rim?
Yeah, definitely. Even off of free throws.
Oh yeah, because they're really focused in position.
Right.
So, you
Yeah.
know what? I should look at some more missed free throws. God darn it all. I was trying to find them. It was hard to find. I couldn't take more
We
than.
should have done this video together, Coach Nick. Come on.
Yeah, I should have asked you. I forgot about it. Forgive me. But I'm going to do a whole series on EuroLeague throughout this season. So we'll have plenty of time. I have, I'm doing it with in cooperation with WSC Sports, and they have a great platform I can use to find all the great replay angles. So I'll be doing more. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, Lithuania. That's what I wanted to say is where. Thank you, Blue Crate, for where the Final Four is for the EuroLeague. And by the way, yeah, go ahead.
Here's another thing. If they would play with EuroLeague rules, it'd be so many adjustments as we see in international competition, the Olympics. But there is no time to ease into a game when it's a 40-minute game, right? So if you know how NBA regular season games are, it's kind of like take your time in the beginning, ease yourself in. There's none of that at the EuroLeague level. They're playing hard right away, kind of like how college is, right?
Yeah. I hear you. Now, what about this? Wasn't asked? The ball. So I got to get my hand on a EuroLeague ball because it's got more panels.
Molten, right? You're talking about the Molten.
I think it's Molten. They used to do Molten. They were sponsored at some point with me for a long time ago. I got to reach out to them, but I think it's Molten, or maybe it might be Spalding now. Somebody sent me a link to the official EuroLeague ball. I think it's Spalding.
One of the leagues I played in over there, they used a Nike ball, which was very similar to any American ball. Okay. So it just depends the league you play in. But I know when people think of the overseas basketball, they think of that multi-panel Molten ball, which were pretty nice. They're pretty easy to grip. They're pretty easy to shoot. Well, that is the point I wanted to make, because if it has 8 panels versus the 6 that the NBA has, then the panels are smaller. And it does feel, the basketball actually does feel smaller, in my opinion. I don't know if it actually is, but it feels that way. Yeah. Why can't I find a damn link? Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's Spalding. So Spalding makes the official one now. But like that makes sense. You have more panels, or you have more grooves because there's more panels. And the depth of the panels might also be different as well. And again, that is a whole ball handling is different, shooting is different, and it looks different. I can't even tell you intrinsically. Just something about it is different, and maybe even more like the ball handling looks more like better for some reason. And it has to be part of it is that you can grip it better. And I know when I was growing up and we would get an NBA ball, it's so much different than now. That ball, when I was a sophomore in high school, I could practically palm. And again, it was probably the kind of leather, was really almost like sticky. You know, you really could grip it. And my hands are no bigger, probably bigger now, and I can't grip that one like I used to do then. So something was different. I think the panels were deeper too, so that when you gripped it, you get more surface area on the fingertips. It's got to be a big difference. And I know we've heard it's a big difference when the guys go play for FIBA from America in the FIBA tournaments. Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment in so many ways. It's a totally different sport. You know, totally different sport over there. Yeah, well, okay. I'm not sure I would say totally, but it's different. A lot of differences, and I would agree. But here's the thing: I thought was the coolest thing about the whole thing was that from a perspective of a guy like Luka, then of course it would seem a lot harder to score because of the way he wants to score. He wants to dominate the ball. He's going to try and ISO and do all that stuff. So I love the fact that the guy that does lead the league in scoring is a guy who's playing like a team, and a team that runs the best offense pretty much. And I know Abramovich has probably better offense with, where is he now? I'll think of it in a second. But like with Olympiacos, like they when you compare that to like what Mike James is running in Monaco, it's like night and day. He just doesn't have space. And I think it's the coach. I think it's the way they want to run their offense. It's mind boggling. And here's the other thing: is the 3-point line is closer. So the argument then is that like it's a little bit more packed in. Is the closeouts are shorter. Now the width of the court is about 1.5 feet short, less wide as well. So you'll see guys who are guarding shooters in the corners on the block. And that must be because of that extra foot they have, or less of a foot, they feel like they can close out there and still be in held position early, where you get killed in the NBA by doing that. Yeah, I mean, if you're a slasher and a guy that doesn't like to shoot, for the most part, you're going to have a tougher time overseas than you are in America. There's definitely a lot more spacing in the States. Yeah, for sure. Because you slash, first of all, the ball's going to get tipped if they try and throw it to you. And if you get it, it's like you're in a crowd. Yeah, and also so sometimes they'll call the obvious. Actually, sometimes they'll call a foul when they could really see it, right? Like maybe up high, or you're kind of in space and then somebody gets over to you last minute and barely touches you. They might call that. But the ones that's like a grind to the rim, they never call those for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they certainly the players are used to that now, and it's definitely consistent. So
Yeah.
it really I can't wait to do more. I always like watching EuroLeague, although again I scratch my head at the defensive principles that they use there. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. They scratch our head. They scratch
Yeah.
their head at our stuff.
I guess I just like I'm like you're letting mill penetration. You're helping one pass away.
Well,
You're hitting from the
I mean,
away.
if Coach Nick, if you grew up in Europe and you had the same passion for basketball, the way you coach basketball would be probably totally different, right?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I think it would be in the sense of the cultural influence, yeah, which is probably the soccer influence too, which is why, like a lot of times, the European the players are willing passers.
I'll tell you another thing about the soccer influence. When I first went over there, another thing was like everybody would get like the slightest injury, the native players, and they'd roll around on the floor for like an hour, like they were hurt and they were fine. Like you see that with Luka. Like he looks like he's really hurt, and then he's all right.
Yeah,
it's a soccer thing.
Well, they also have the instant technical for flopping in the EuroLeague, right? I think that they have that.
I didn't know about that. Okay.
You don't think so, or maybe
maybe. But don't they have that? Don't they have that in the States now or something?
Well, they have fines now in the NBA for flopping, but I haven't heard of a fine for flopping in so long, and I feel like I'm sure they could have fined people, but they haven't.
I think Vlade Divac actually brought the flopping to the NBA, right?
I mean, listen, I guarantee you we'll find some Americans in the 70s who were flopping. Flopping's been around, but he maybe more popular and stuff. And listen, Vlade was awesome. I love Vlade. I love the way he played. So, but let's talk about KD and playing with the Phoenix Suns. He had his debut against the Charlotte Hornets. Pretty smart. It's on the road, but the Hornets are not a team that's going to give you too many problems with a team that's got Booker and CP3 and KD on it together. I did isolate the 15 minutes they played together as starters. They didn't mix and match any other two players with those big three. So the big three only played with the starters in that 15 minutes. And it wasn't great as far as like the production. And I kind of felt that you saw KD doing everything he was doing. And there's some interesting actions I'm going to break down and get, draw some stuff out. You can see how they're going to incorporate him. And by the way, whatever they did last night is probably the extent of what they're going to get done, because there's 20 games left, maybe hardly any practices. I don't know if they're going to install much more than this, but the offensive rating was in the 80s, and so was the defensive rating. It was a plus 3.4 probably for net rating. So they won those minutes, but that wasn't the difference there. The starters were not the difference in this game, but we did get the chance to see KD look. I'm studying his movement patterns. That right knee looks fine.
Yeah, he always comes back great from injuries. And I was actually thinking about this today. There are ways to be able to work on your game while you are injured, right? Like, let's say you hurt your leg. You could always lift upper body as long as you do it safely. Let's say you hurt your left hand. You could work on your right hand. And I'm sure KD is one of those guys that is continuing to work even when he's injured, because he always comes back great from injuries. He's definitely the best plug and play superstar we have in the NBA. You could drop him on any team and he'll make them better. Like, let's say we drop LeBron on any team, he'll make them better, but everybody around LeBron will have to change what they do a little bit.
That's actually a really great point. Make sure you clip that for your, that's a good little, what's mini content for your stuff, because yes, LeBron, you'd have to adjust. There's adjustments to be made to play alongside him. And you're right. KD you don't need that adjustment. He can fit right in and he can blend in. They had some cool stuff. They were posting him up and then running Booker off of some weak side screens, which I really loved. Didn't work. They didn't really get a good shot off of it, but I love what they're looking for, and that will work without question. And then they also have actions. They don't have enough actions where they get Booker and KD involved together, and hopefully that will change in the playoffs. But you did see moments where KD's gravity was so great that it does open like a wide open shot for Booker, who missed it, but like he got a wide open shot, and that's rare for him. So there's no question Monty is got the eye for it, and he's just going to have to sort of the next 10, 15 games sort of chisel it away until they get the nice sculpture.
I feel like there's not as much redundancy and skill set than there was with Kai, KD, and Harden, but on the other end of it, right? They are all mid-range shooters. Do you think that could actually hurt them, even though they're really efficient playing against all these teams, knocking down a whole bunch of threes?
Well, I mean, they got to the finals and it didn't hurt them. But that said, they benefited greatly from the Lakers breaking down. which is what happens to every team. But if we needed to look at it like in going forward now and that's that style, yeah, maybe it wouldn't have worked so well. If maybe we don't use that as a great example, but it could. But at least with KD, he's going to get his threes up too. Booker not as much, and not as much for CP3, but and they have other shooters now who can stretch that floor. I was looking for that too to see who are they going to play alongside these guys. So I think that they have enough shooting to make it work and to go deep. In a year, it's very strange, right? This is a very strange Western Conference where it's as wide open as it could be, unless you want to argue that, Denver has solidified themselves and they have the glow and they've got the confidence and they can put their foot on the neck of anybody else in the Western Conference. But I don't know. They haven't really proven it quite yet. So, yeah, it's open. And the Suns have as good a shot as anybody, especially with, the Lakers, who had done everything they needed to do for that trade. LeBron is probably out for the season, right? I don't know. Do you have that feeling?
Yeah, I have a feeling that's the case. Yeah.
I mean, it was so unimpressive what he did to injure his foot. Did you see the play?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
It wasn't much of anything aside from maybe the fact that he played 36 minutes a game for the whole year at his age, which is, I think, the biggest mistake. And he stepped in. I still can't quite identify anything specifically that it would have put his foot in any kind of danger. And he was, and then he played on it. He continued to play on it, which I think was a big mistake. And then he was walking on it on the way out of the arena. And the only way you can convince me it wasn't this big catastrophic mistake was that, okay, maybe it wasn't as serious as it sounds, but they're already talking about how it's going to be a long extended absence. And let me tell you again, how many games are left? There's less than 20 now, right?
Yeah, and AD didn't play this past game. Russell's going through an injury right now. They won against OKC anyway, but man, it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough to make it all the way in the playoffs. But everything's so close. You never know. You never know.
Well, we have our first super chat from Buzzer Beater. Thank you so much, Buzzer Beater. Very generous of you. Appreciate it. And he wants to talk about the Knicks. We talked about them last time, I think. Leon Rose for Executive of the Year. Well, okay, let's talk about this. Let's see. I watched a little bit of Knicks recently, but have you been watching them carefully?
Yes, I'm here in the New York area. Definitely watch some Knicks.
Give me your feedback.
Jalen Brunson has been everything for that team. He puts players in the right place, and he's one of the most skilled and crafty players in the NBA. I think it's a disservice that he did not make the All-Star game. But yeah, the young players are stepping up. Love quickly. Obi's a solid player. Mitchell, great big that could help you. Has to get the free throw shooting better and definitely could improve upon a few things. He actually doing a better job of not fouling as much. He used to foul out in it felt like 10 minutes before. So I love everything the Knicks are doing. And Julius Randle is having an improved season. Even though sometimes he does stuff that breaks my basketball brain, he still gets it done.
Okay. So they won 7 in a row, and they're now, let's see, the standings have them at where are they? 5th in the conference, right in between Cleveland and Brooklyn. Brooklyn, might, is going to probably drop lower and lower as we go along. Let's see, 37 and 27. So 47, 57, 67, 60, 66. So there's 64 games they played. They got 18 games left. So, yeah, so teams are under 20 games left. Here's the thing. I quickly wanted to just at least take a peek at the winning streak and who they beat because it'll be interesting. The Jazz at home, the Nets at home. Okay, I'm not the biggest Jazz supporter. I think that they're whatever. Beating them is not a titanic task. They beat the Hawks in Atlanta. Okay, they beat the Wizards in Washington. Okay, and then they had the Pelicans. But here's what's coming up. Oh no. But then they beat the Pelicans at home. They beat the Celtics at home. They beat the Nets again at home. So the Celtics is a really good win for them. I got to check that and see if they had everybody real quick. I watched a piece of that game, didn't I? Yeah, the Celtics had Tatum, Smart. They didn't have Jaylen Brown. But still, so that's the concern. Because and looking forward to the next several games, they had played at Miami, at Boston in a rematch. They get Charlotte at home, which will help. But then they're on the road for the Kings, Clippers, Lakers, and then the Blazers. That's going to be tough, and that's going to be where I keep my eye on them to see how they respond to that road trip because that'll give you a really good indication of what they can do in the playoffs.
Shouts to the Kings, man. They're unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right? No. I mean, that game this past weekend, as you know, it's just wow. They should have lost 3 times. That team has no quit. No quit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, I broke down the crazy game against the Clippers, but
Right.
luckily they had Russell on the other team, because otherwise they would have won. They would have lost that game. But still, they don't quit. They run beautiful offense. Now, Leon Rose for Executive of the Year. Remind me, is it only signing Brunson, or what was the other, any other major moves? I don't think there were any other major ones.
Not that I could think of. I mean, they drafted a lot of these guys, right? RJ's not having an amazing season, but Quickly, I love the way Quickly plays basketball. Obi, solid player. Oh, you know what? Hart is a good pickup. Really good pickup midseason. What else did they do? They did something else too. I'm trying to think.
I mean, let's look. I mean, they got rid of Cam Reddish for that Hart thing.
That was a bit. And Hart's actually shooting it better now since he landed in New York.
Yeah, I'm actually checking this out.
How's Thibault shooting in the Blazers? Am I seeing he found his jump shot in Portland?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was lighting it up. I saw somebody sent me some clips. I'm not even sure I love the rhythm of what he's doing right now, Thibault in Portland. But hang on, we got another one. Hang on. But a few of them look really good, and it really doesn't matter. It's like, get him in. Do whatever you can do to get him in. And so I like Thibault. They're gonna rue the day that they traded him away. He was the guy that easily could have helped them, and change the scenery. I don't know what it is, but there's no question that he could be a solid enough 3-point shooter and then a devastating defender, and that's what you need in the playoffs. But we have another super chat from Endless. Thank you so much. Love the show, Coach. Can Warriors make it far? It's a really interesting question. I had this discussion the other day. I don't know. I have severe doubts, but then again, we really have not seen Wiggins healthy, Curry healthy, Draymond healthy, Clay healthy. The big four, and then Looney with everybody else, and then slot in the right spots. We haven't seen it really this year, so I don't know. What do you think?
Can they make it far? Yes, because I think we talked about this before, Coach Nick. When the Warriors are hitting on all cylinders, they have the highest ceiling in the NBA when it comes to offense. Clay is playing better than he ever has post-injuries. This Kuminga thing is real. I mean, he could really help them in the playoffs playing that small ball 5 role, which he's becoming accustomed to. And as you said, if they get healthy at the right time, and Steph Curry could look like Steph Curry, they could go really far. They still could go really far. They are dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we had said that before. I don't know why. I mean, I just like to see a little bit of it. I like to see like a nice 5-game stretch before the season's over, where they get into a groove and we can really see it. But we don't even know what Steph Curry's prognosis is right now. I don't think. Let me look.
I think he's coming back soon.
Let's see what NBC Sports says. Roto World says. Despite a brief rough patch, according to Woj, there is optimism that Steph Curry will return sometime next week during the team's 3-game road trip. All right, there you go. That'll be good. Now, the Wiggins thing is really concerning too, but he hasn't come back. I don't think, right? He didn't play in the last. Let me see what they say here. He's still not available. You know what? The last update they had was on the 25th. He didn't play against the Wolves, and I don't think he played the last game either. So that's concerning because you don't really know what that's about, and it sounds serious. And so hopefully that can get taken care of, and he can get back on the court with them, because that's the other thing. They can't get him back. Forget about it.
Yeah, they need him as that two-way wing. Obviously, we know he was great in their championship run from last year, so he's definitely needed for them to win. For sure.
Well, Buzzer Beater is back, and he wants to say, damn Jaylen Brown. Sure bet Knicks 125, Celtics 95. I think he was saying, he's not saying damn Jaylen Brown. I think it's like he's saying damn him, damn Jaylen Brown, sure bet Knicks. So he thinks the Knicks are going to blow the Celtics out. Wait, did I say that was in New York? No, it's in Boston. I don't see the Knicks blowing Boston out in Boston. Do you?
No.
It's a revenge game too. So, and by the way, it may not mean much in the overall scheme of things. The Knicks will still be who they are. But the Celtics might want to make a big point. They might come with it more than even normal to make that point. But we shall see.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jason Tatum will probably have a big game because he's due for one. Hasn't been playing as well as of late. So that could happen in Boston.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And Will made a good point about Thibault in college. I mean, there's no question that Thibault, what the genius of him, and I got to sit down with him over in the offseason, is he uses offensive footwork on defense. So you'll see him do things in challenge shots, and his footwork is just like he's doing like a runner or a floater on offense, and he's understanding better than most how to use your feet to do that, and we need to expand that and start teaching more people. The sliding thing isn't really effective. You know how we teach people to lift their both feet and then split and go on offense on your catch. We need to teach that on defense. There's no question that everything applies. And even if you're doing like containing as a big man in a pick and roll and you drop, if you're going to be square to the man and you have to try to waddle back and backwards to try and do that, that doesn't work. It's not as explosive. If you turn your body a little bit and now you're using the outside edge of your ankle and to be able to push off and split from there, you're much more mobile and explosive. And then you can still do your stuff with the hands up and be more aggressive defensively. So we got to teach a lot of different things that are not being taught on defense, and I think we'll find some more effectiveness.
Yeah, it's interesting. In my pickup playing over the past few weeks, I've been like implementing a lot of stuff we talk about. It's been working really well. The cornet closeout, just going behind people and people are confused when I play defense behind them. I'll tell you that. They don't know what's going on.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can believe me. It is. It's very confusing, which is why it would be great defense to do. I'm going to make a video on it when the season's over and then push it, because if you're a coach out there and you're looking for a way to cause the maximum havoc, then I got the defense for you, and I'll diagram it and show it soon.
You know what I realized about basketball? That sometimes you don't have to be great at what you're doing. You just sometimes have to throw them a different look, and that could change everything, right? Like if you've been playing man the whole time, your 2-3 zone might not be great, but it's going to mess them up for a few plays. It really is. It's going to take time.
Go back. It's the man. That
Yes.
one can also screw them up. So there's no
Yes.
question. Speaking of which, Charlotte went to a 2-3 zone with the starters.
He actually, Coach Clifford was talking about NBA defense, and he said he thinks the future of NBA defense is going to have more zone in it.
Yeah, I think I need to make a call to Coach Clifford and show him what I did, but they tried a 2-3 zone. You could imagine it did not go well, and they got out of it the next possession. But literally, remember you can ball screen a zone, and then I think sometimes coaches don't understand that either. And they set a ball screen on the inside part of the one guard. The other guard had to step over, and that left Kevin Durant on the right wing all by himself. And they just threw one pass away, boom, and he shot. The net didn't even move, and they quickly got out of it. So, it's not hard when you understand it and you focus on how to attack a zone. You can get them out of there pretty quickly. But so what else should we talk about as we start to move towards maybe we're closer to the end of the show than the beginning? What should we talk about?
I don't know, man. What do you think?
Oh wow! I mean, we've ran through a whole bunch of stuff. It's like I don't think I knew we were gonna.
I think it was a great show.
It really is. It really is. I mean, I'm kind of keeping my eye on the comments to see if someone wants to throw something out there. What else did you see? Oh, I did a really fun. You should go watch it if you haven't seen it. I did a little YouTube thing about my visit to Portland, and in there's a Nasir Little interview which I did with him, which is really great. I got to cut that out and start sharing it, because you never get a chance to hear NBA players really go in depth about individual plays they made. And he goes over footwork. He talks about reading the defense. It's really interesting. And you should definitely see it if you haven't, about my trip to Portland.
Yeah, I actually watched that, and it was very insightful, everything he was saying. Also, I think like the future of sports media is going to have more stuff, more niche, more creators, more different kinds of people asking players questions. So I think we're like going into a great time in sports media. Yeah.
Oh, we got a good question here.
Yes, sir. It is.
Yep. Buzzer beater, you might have missed the very, very, very beginning of the show as I made the same exact comment with exactly the same amount of question marks and exclamation points afterwards, vocally. So yeah, we're loving members only. But by the way, I guess I'll tease it here a little bit. I'm going to go to the game in Orlando on Sunday. And I scored a really big interview with the team that's visiting. So I'm very excited about it. And I don't necessarily want to just completely announce it before I actually get it in the can, but like as far as I know, it's happening.
That's a big thing. That you're a vet for that, because even with something scheduled, You never know what could happen. So you don't want to never announce anything too early.
Yeah, you're true. I do, but I'm excited. I'm too excited.
No. I'm saying you did it the right way. Like you said what's happening, but you didn't talk about it specifically, which is the right way to go. Yeah.
You guys can figure out if you see who's going to be there, who I probably have lined up to talk about. So I'm very excited. But yeah, I'll make sure to tease a little bit more when I get it in the can on Sunday. But let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you know what? I mean, we got another super chat real quick. Although, where is it? It's slow to populate in the. Here it is. Wait, where did it go? There it is. There we go. From Braun, friend of the breakdown, best friend of the breakdown. Braun, thank you so much. He writes, "Hey, coach, thoughts on Banchero's shot form? He's shooting 27% in the 4 attempts this season and only 3% in February. Yikes. I can't picture my mind's eye Banchero's jump shot. Can you?
He doesn't get it off as effortlessly he does in the mid-range. I'll tell you that. It's not as fluid. He was always like that since college. Like that's one of the improvement areas I thought for him was that he has to be able to get that 3-point shot off more effortlessly. But he's such a dynamic player, man. Like he could play that point forward type role, which is kind of LeBron-ish, but then he could get in the mid-range and create his own kind of like Carmelo-ish. So he's really like, he's going to be a really good player for years to come. And we might not have ever seen a duo like Franz and Paulo, just like 2-point forward type players that are that dynamic playing together. So the future is bright for them.
I just called them up. I want to take a peek. Oh, okay. It's okay. You know, I might need to go take an even longer peek at this, but are they off the dribble? I wonder. Yeah, they probably are all. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's rhythm. He's just not. It's not that there's a synchronization there. I think the alignment looks pretty good. He's got a decent turn, and so the hip and the elbow are in the right are to the basket. You know, but yeah, he's just got to adjust the rhythm, the timing of when his arm swing comes up. It's a little early, it looks like. So the energy of the ball is being dissipated. So and then now his arm needs to push. The funny thing is I would say you don't want to use your arm as the power to push the ball because that's when it gets off left and right. But then you go watch, Halliburton absolutely light it up in the 3-point contest, doing pretty much exactly that. And now, then I don't know what to make of that. But yeah, I think Banchero just needs to clean up a lot of stuff, clean up the gather of the ball, learn how to dip off the dribble more, and then he'll be in decent shape.
There's exceptions to every rule, right? Like Reggie Miller was a great shooter, but would I tell somebody to try and mimic Reggie Miller's form? No,
right. No. I had forgotten, I put that in there in the middle of my 3-point thing, talking about Halliburton, because there's a similarity to, like, Halliburton's hand almost hits the left hand, and Reggie's really hit his opposite hand, hit together on the release. And I had forgotten just how violent that was. And you're right, like he got it to work, but yes, I wouldn't use that as my starting point for anybody as you're building a jump shot. And if the guy wasn't making a lot of them, then you definitely might want to start cleaning that up, right? But by the time Reggie kind of had got that form down, then yeah, he was an elite shooter. He was making a lot of them. Reggie's form is as unique as they come. Probably rooted in the fact that his sister was beating the crap out of him as a kid, and he had to shoot like higher and higher to get it off. I thinking is what happened.
Yeah, that could be it. That could be it.
Yeah. So, all right, here we go. We got all of a sudden here comes some super chats. Thank you guys so much. It's really helps. And this is from England. Wow. Marek Keska asks, do people still get taught the wrong way to shoot?
So let me ask you, what's right and what's wrong?
Okay, I'll tell you this. If you teach a guy to not dip the ball, that's wrong. Mm-hmm. If you teach a guy to be 10 toes to the rim and square to the basket, that's wrong. After that, I have a lot of leeway, but then we have the rhythm. So I want rhythm, I want alignment. That's really what I focus on. And I've had a lot of success doing that for a lot of different players with and eliminate a lot of the heartache, right? Because if you're going to try and drill it the old way, you might even get there eventually. You might even become a decent shooter or a good shooter, but it's going to take a lot longer and it's going to be a lot more frustrating. So those are the two big ones that I rail against, and I still, have problems when people do. And also, if you want to force someone to like stare at the rim the whole way through, I don't even get into where their eyes go, but certainly most of the good shooters follow the ball with their eyes on the release. And if you have someone who's like, don't do that, then that's a problem too.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, I always look at energy transfer. What's the basketball doing? If the basketball is moving in the right way, I don't have a problem with what the player is doing. Like, I like to look at shooting as if the person wasn't visible, what would the basketball be doing? And you don't want any hitches. You don't want basketball going in all different types of directions. And as we just said, there's players that could still shoot good and do it that way, but you're almost defying the odds if you do it that way, like Tyrese Halliburton.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, you want the basketball to be a one fluid motion on its way up with no stoppage.
For sure. And by the way, it's just Markelle Fultz, speaking of like struggling and shooting, whatever.
Oh, yeah, he's got better, way better.
Yeah, it's like, so the 3-point shot is, he's 32% and he only takes 1 a game. So it's not like he's, high volume, but he's just become the guy that was drafted number 1. Wait, number 1 or number 2? Was he
number one? Number one.
He's kind of becoming that guy that, like, he's looking more and more like the guy that came out of college that way before whatever happened to him. And you know what? Maybe I'll get an interview with him. We'll see. I'll be there and I'll see if I can't get him. But he said 13.4 points a game, 5.5 assists. He's playing a little under 30 minutes a game. So it's just a great story to see him overcome that and persevere, because it would have been easy for him to just sort of not do it and ultimately wash out. So we got some more super chats. Brian Holiday, thank you so much, Brian. Really, really generous of you. I can't thank you enough. I think their offense will be fine, but do you think Denver's defense will hold in the playoffs? Listen, there's no indication their defense is good enough to make a deep run in the playoffs. I hate to say it, but I just checked it 5-6 days ago. I think it was 22nd in the league. Just not good enough. And now let's check it again here.
A wise man once told me, defense, schmefense.
I said that, didn't I? Did I say that?
Yeah, he said
that. I did. But I don't know. I think you're talking about deep run. Right now, they're ranked 14th. They must have been better in the last several games. Let me look at the last 10 games. Let's see what happens. Defensive rating, and they're 12th in the last 10 games. So it's not like they've ticked up too much, but it'll be their downfall if they don't make it. Is their defense? They need to be able to stop people, and then they can score the best of them. But Jokic might turn it on a little bit. He doesn't even put his hand up some of the times, and it's like, come on now. Maybe he'll change that a little bit in the playoffs. Maybe he knows they won't call as many fouls in the playoffs, so he can risk maybe that. So and if they can tick up a couple spots, then I feel a lot better about him. But right now, it's higher than it was. It's not bad. 15th, I'll take. But I don't think you get to. You don't get out of the conference finals at 15th. I don't think. Yeah, I'll say that.
Yeah, no matter how good your offense is, you usually have to at the least be top 10 to make a deep playoff run. At the least. Sure. Yeah.
Well, here we have another one. Thank you so much, Buzzer Beater. Wow, Buzzer Beater's just like the man behind the super chat today. Thank you. He wants to know what the name of the Portland video is. I mentioned it's oh, you know what? I probably should put Blazers of Portland in the title. It's behind the scenes of an NBA game, and it's got Nasir Little on the thumbnail, and it came out just on the 27th, a few days ago. So please go and watch that one. That needs a lot more love. I don't know, maybe I have to rename it, but that should get watched more, because it's also cool just to see, how the players warm up and what they're doing. I have a lot of that footage you saw, and yeah, it's all good stuff. So Buzzer Beater, thank you for asking that and helping me get that out there. Maybe I'll even drop it in the community so people can see it, because you got to watch it. But Combo, I think it's time to kind of get back to our lives for the rest of the day. I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be in Orlando and then Florida for a lot of next week. So I don't know if we can do it. Maybe from my iPad, if I can figure it out, we can try and get a live show in there.
Sounds good, Coach Nick. Safe travels. Talk soon, man.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody out there, for all the Buzzer Beater, really above and beyond for all the super chats. It really helps us. Thank you so much. And thank you all for watching and being part of this. This is really a great show today. A lot of people here. And Combo, as always, really, really happy to have you with us and doing your stuff. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in? You in, Combo?
Yes, sir.